Have you ever wondered what people truly feel when you simply disappear from their lives? Whether it's ending a friendship, stepping away from a relationship, or cutting ties with a toxic person, your absence can leave a profound impact. But the emotions triggered by this silence are often more complex than we realize. When you disappear, you create a void. This act, intentional or not, forces people to confront their feelings, assumptions, and the role you played in their lives. Some might feel confused, others may reflect on their mistakes, and a few might even feel a sense of relief. But every reaction reveals something about human nature and the dynamics of your connection. In this video, we'll dive into the 9 emotional reactions people experience when you simply disappear. From confusion and regret to growth and acceptance, these insights will help you understand the psychological impact of your absence and maybe even offer clarity on the connections you've left behind. So, if you're ready to uncover the truth about what happens when you walk away, keep watching. You might be surprised by how powerful silence can be. Thing 1: confusion. When you disappear, the first and often most immediate reaction people feel is confusion. Human relationships are built on patterns and expectations, and when someone suddenly breaks those patterns, it can leave others questioning what happened. Confusion arises because people crave closure. They want to understand the why. Was it something they said or did? Was there a misunderstanding? This uncertainty can be unsettling because it disrupts their sense of control over the relationship. Psychologically, this reaction stems from our need for narrative. Humans naturally seek to make sense of events in their lives. When you disappear without explanation, it creates a gap in their story, an open loop that their mind works overtime to close. This is why they might replay interactions in their head, searching for signs they missed or mistakes they made. Confusion can be especially strong in close relationships, where there's an assumption of mutual understanding. Without communication, they're left to interpret your silence, often projecting their own fears and insecurities onto the situation. By disappearing, you force them to confront the unanswered questions. This initial confusion sets the stage for the other emotions they might experience as they process your absence. Thing 2: self-doubt. After the initial confusion, many people start to experience self-doubt. When someone disappears from their life, they can't help but wonder if they were the problem. This self-questioning can spiral into a deeper examination of their own actions, words, and even their worth. Self-doubt arises because relationships often mirror how we perceive ourselves. When you disappear, it leaves an emotional gap that they might fill with blame. They may ask themselves, was I too much? Not enough? Did I do something wrong? These doubts can be amplified if the relationship held significant emotional weight or if unresolved issues existed. Psychologically, this reaction taps into our fear of rejection. Humans are wired to seek belonging and connection. When that bond is suddenly severed, it can make them question their own value. This self-reflection might even extend beyond the relationship, affecting their confidence in other areas of life. However, self-doubt isn't always negative. For some, it can lead to productive introspection, a moment to evaluate their behavior and consider areas for growth. But for others, it may deepen feelings of insecurity, especially if they lack the tools to process these emotions. By disappearing, you leave them with a mirror to confront their own vulnerabilities. Self-doubt, while uncomfortable, is often a necessary step in their emotional processing. Thing 3, regret. Regret often follows self-doubt. Once the initial confusion subsides and they've questioned their role in the situation, many people begin to reflect on what could have been done differently. They might regret words left unsaid, actions they took or didn't take that contributed to the disconnect. This emotion can be particularly intense if the relationship held significant value to them. They may replay past interactions, wishing they had communicated better, been more present, or recognized the warning signs sooner. Regret is rooted in the what-ifs, the endless possibilities of how things could have unfolded if only they had acted differently. Regret isn't just about missed opportunities in the relationship. It can also stem from recognizing the role you played in their life. Your disappearance can magnify the importance of your presence. They might realize that what they took for granted is now gone, leading to feelings of loss and missed chances for reconciliation. However, regret can also be a catalyst for growth. For some, it becomes a turning point, a chance to learn from their mistakes and strive to be better in future relationships. But for others, regret may linger, creating a sense of unresolved longing or guilt. By stepping away, you've left them with the space to reflect. Regret is an inevitable part of processing absence, and it reveals the deeper connections and value that were once shared. Thing 4, anger. As they process the confusion, self-doubt, and regret, anger can emerge. When someone disappears without explanation, it often leaves the other person feeling powerless. This lack of control can manifest as frustration and resentment, particularly if they perceive your absence as unfair or undeserved. Anger often stems from unanswered questions. Why did they leave? Why didn't they say anything? The mind struggles to fill in the blanks, and when no satisfying answers appear, frustration grows. This emotion can also be a defense mechanism, shielding them from deeper feelings of hurt or rejection. In some cases, anger may be directed inward. They might chastise themselves for not seeing the signs earlier, or for allowing the relationship to reach this point. But more often, the anger is projected outward, toward you. They may label your actions as selfish or inconsiderate, even if your reasons for leaving were valid. The intensity of their anger often reflects the significance of the relationship. The closer the connection, the stronger the emotional reaction. However, this anger isn't necessarily permanent. For many, it's a passing phase, a way to process the pain before moving on to more constructive emotions. By disappearing, you've sparked a cascade of emotions, with anger being one of the most intense. It's their way of wrestling with the situation, trying to regain a sense of control over what feels like an unresolved chapter. Thing 5, curiosity. Once the initial waves of confusion, self-doubt, and anger settle, curiosity begins to creep in. When you disappear, people naturally start to wonder, what are you doing? Where are you now? Are you happy without them? This curiosity can lead them to search for clues, whether it's checking your social media, asking mutual friends, or replaying old conversations in their mind. Curiosity arises because humans are storytellers by nature. Your sudden absence leaves a gap in their narrative, and they feel compelled to fill in the missing pieces. They may imagine scenarios about your life, some flattering, and others not so much. This mental exercise isn't just about you, it's also about their own need to make sense of the situation. Social media often amplifies this curiosity. A single post, photo, or status update can send their minds spinning with theories and questions. Who's that in the picture? Where are they now? Are they moving on without me? These thoughts can lead to a fixation on your life as they seek closure or validation. For some, curiosity might become a preoccupation, a way of staying connected to you even in your absence. For others, it's a fleeting phase, a moment of wondering before they redirect their focus back to their own life. By disappearing, you've created a mystery. Curiosity is their way of trying to solve it, a natural response to the unanswered questions your silence leaves behind. Thing 6, relief. While it might be surprising, some people feel relief when someone disappears. This reaction often occurs in relationships that were strained, toxic, or emotionally draining. Your absence, instead of creating turmoil, lifts a weight off their shoulders. Relief stems from the space created by your departure. If the relationship involved conflict, unresolved issues, or unbalanced dynamics, your silence might provide the peace they didn't realize they needed. This doesn't necessarily mean they didn't value the relationship. It simply highlights the emotional toll it may have taken on them. This sense of relief can also spark self-awareness. They might reflect on why the relationship felt heavy and whether they were contributing to its struggles. In some cases, relief is accompanied by guilt, especially if they feel responsible for the tension. However, relief isn't always permanent. It can be a temporary reaction that shifts as they process deeper emotions, such as regret or sadness. The initial freedom they feel may give way to a more complex understanding of what your absence truly means. By disappearing, you've not only given yourself space, but also offered them the opportunity to find clarity and calm. Relief is a natural response to relationships that were out of balance, and it's a crucial step in their emotional journey. Thing 7, obsession. For some people, your disappearance can lead to obsession. When someone is suddenly cut off, it can trigger a psychological loop where your absence amplifies their focus on you. The less accessible you are, the more they want to understand, connect, or gain closure. This reaction often stems from the human tendency to desire what we cannot have. The mystery of your silence makes you appear more significant in their mind, and they may replay conversations, analyze past interactions, or even fixate on minor details to make sense of your departure. This obsessive thinking is their way of trying to regain control over a situation that feels unresolved. Social media and technology can intensify this response. They might check your online presence, look for signs of your life post-disappearance, or even seek indirect ways to learn about you through mutual acquaintances. Every piece of information they gather feels like a small victory in solving the puzzle you left behind. Obsession isn't always rooted in anger or regret. Sometimes it's simply a reflection of how deeply they cared or how much of an impact you had on their life. However, this fixation can become unhealthy if it prevents them from moving forward. By disappearing, you've created a psychological absence that demands attention. For some, this obsession is temporary, a phase they work through as they process their emotions. For others, it can linger, becoming a reminder of the unresolved feelings tied to your relationship. Thing 8, growth. Your disappearance can also lead to growth, both for them and for you. When someone is left to process the emotions tied to your absence, it can trigger deep introspection and self-awareness. They may begin to examine their behavior, past decisions, and patterns in relationships. growth often comes from pain. While your departure may initially cause confusion, self-doubt, or regret, it can also encourage them to reflect on what they want from their relationships and how they can improve. For example, they might identify unhealthy dynamics, recognize areas where they need to set boundaries, or develop stronger emotional resilience. For some, your absence becomes a wake-up call. It can inspire them to make positive changes, such as seeking therapy, adopting healthier habits, or working on communication skills. This growth isn't just about becoming a better partner or friend, it's about becoming a more self-aware individual. At the same time, your decision to disappear may be a part of your own growth journey. Walking away from relationships that no longer serve you or stepping back to focus on yourself can be a powerful act of self-care. It's a reminder that sometimes growth requires distance. By disappearing, you've created space for them to learn, evolve, and possibly become a better version of themselves. Growth is one of the most constructive outcomes of absence, turning a painful experience into an opportunity for transformation. Thing 9. Acceptance. Acceptance is often the final stage in the emotional journey triggered by your disappearance. After experiencing confusion, regret, or even obsession, most people eventually come to terms with your absence. They begin to realize that life goes on, with or without the relationship. Acceptance doesn't mean they forget you or dismiss the significance of the connection. Instead, it's about finding peace with what happened. They might recognize that the relationship had its time and place, and that its end doesn't diminish its value. This stage often brings a sense of closure, even if there wasn't a formal goodbye. Psychologically, acceptance is freeing. It allows them to stop replaying past events and focus on the present. They might reflect on the lessons learned from the relationship, using those insights to navigate future connections more wisely. For you, their acceptance can also be liberating. It means the emotional chapter you shared has been acknowledged and closed, allowing both of you to move forward in your respective journeys. Acceptance is where healing begins. It's the moment when the weight of unresolved emotions is lifted, making space for growth, gratitude, and new opportunities. By disappearing, you've created a process that leads here, a resolution that helps both sides find clarity and peace. Conclusion. When someone disappears, it's more than an absence. It's an emotional journey for those left behind. From confusion and regret to growth and acceptance, these 9 feelings reflect the complexity of human connections. Your silence, intentional or not, leaves a lasting impact. But remember, disappearing is a choice with consequences. It's important to consider whether it's the right step for you and those involved. Sometimes distance is necessary for growth. Other times, communication can lead to understanding and healing. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments which of these emotions you've experienced or observed in similar situations. Thank you for watching, and remember, every connection we make teaches us something valuable about ourselves and others.